Climate change is, like you said, the things that are going on currently. Whatever we're doing that's causing havoc on the environment.
Right. So it sounds like you believe that it's real.
I believe it's real. Like I said, I'm from Pittsburgh. We don't get certain things. Like we don't get hurricanes. We don't get earthquakes. We didn't get tornadoes until about 3 weeks ago. We had about 5 of them in 3 weeks. So how can you explain that?
Do you still get the same amounts of snow in Pittsburgh?
No, we barely had snow this year. Barely.
That's unheard of.
We used to get a lot of snow when I was younger, but we get a lot of drastic temperature changes. There's no other way to explain it than what we're doing to the environment that's called. I believe it is real, yes.
And somebody that was on that IEP campus, and I used to always be like, I gotta get out of here. This snow is ridiculous. It was snowing like mid-April, and it'll still be snowing. The fact that you guys aren't experiencing that much snow anymore, that's definitely concerning.
You think we'd be sick? I'm running out of energy. See, we use
What up, world? It's LeGrand, hip-hop artist and climate activist. Welcome to this episode of Keep That Same Green Energy podcast. We always ask our guests to introduce themselves. Guest, if you would please introduce yourself.
Hello, world. My name is Rae-ann Green. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I am currently a registered nurse and work for a large school district in Pennsylvania. But it's going to be Pittsburgh, because I already said it. Huh?
Why you did that intro like the dating game? I don't know, but that's all right. We're going to roll with it. We're going to roll with it. So, we always ask our guests, how are they affiliated with LeGrand or with Climate Action? So, how did we meet, or how are we connected? Did you want to share something interesting?
Well, it goes all the way back to 1990.
Oh, when we were toddlers, obviously.
Yes, toddlers. Actually, I was in the process of pledging the greatest sorority on the planet, which would be Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Don't at me.
And LeGrand here was a new member, a neophyte with Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and he actually came up to the campus while we were pledging, or what used to be called online. So yeah, that's how I first met LeGrand. And
so to give a little background, a little color, this is how it was my first introduction of how real Rae-ann is. So just to give you a little background, and I'm probably not doing myself much of a service, but I had just crossed, and when I say just crossed, like I was fresh out the plastic. And we went to another yard with brothers who went through the same process as us that just didn't finish their process. And our thought process was, because we're bros and they're not yet. And so even though they technically are our sands, we went up there to pledge them. And so because we were fresh to the fraternity, we showed up on campus probably looking like a bunch of banshees, looking like we were about to attack them. And so they were nowhere to be found. Somebody took them off. We could not find the Sphinxmen, but we did find the Ivies. And so when I first met Rae-ann, she was obviously she was an ace. First Ivy I met. I don't think the other Ivies were around. They were probably doing something. So you were like, I think she ran an errand or something like that. So we got a chance to really chop it up. I was like, oh, okay, what you blah blah blah. Okay, you were ace. Boom, that's what's up. That was my first introduction. But the fact that, and this is why I say she's a real one. Rae knew the situation she was in. 8-10 bros, fresh neophytes, looking like they're looking for blood. She could have easily ran and said, I ain't got nothing to do with y'all. She stood there, got to know us, and did what she needed to do. That's why I said, okay, she's an ace, she's a real one. So that was my first introduction. And we've been friends ever since.
Ever since. And then you married one of my best friends.
And there's that. So we keep it all close, keep it all in the family. All right, so we typically get questions from the audience that are not necessarily related to the podcast, but might be current and might be relevant. And so in light of the recent verdict about former President Donald Trump. What is your feeling about the verdict and what the impact of that, the verdict, guilty verdict on all 30 some odd counts, guilty. What is your feeling about that verdict and how it might affect us as a country?
Well, I think it's well deserved. He probably has a few more we don't know about, a few more counts he can get. However,
Okay.
It baffles me that he can still run for United States president being convicted of 38 counts. And he is a convicted felon, but it's so difficult for our colleagues, the regular, normal, everyday felons, to, live a normal life because there's a lot of constraints in place for them. So why doesn't he get the same? How does he get to enforce and lead a country, lead the military, when he doesn't even know how to carry himself? We watched him and his people storm the Capitol, cause all of these problems, and I think that was just minor compared to what's going to happen if he doesn't win this time. I think it's going to be a problem. Part of me is like, let's just get it over with. He can only do 4 more years, but the other part of me is like, I don't want to deal with this cat at all. Like, I don't want to deal with a lot of, just when you see him, I just see so many things. I see ignorance, I see anger, I see prejudice, I see racism, sexism, everything. Like, I just see it, and it just completely turns me away from wanting to hear anything he has to say. So how can you be a leader and expect people to follow, but you're not leading by a good example?
That's a great summary. I think my concern as it relates to this platform is we got the Inflation Reduction Act that the current president put into effect, obviously along with Congress, and there's a lot of money going towards this climate action effort. Whether former President Trump is allowed to run or not, my concern is about the fate of the Inflation Reduction Act and its ability to contribute to climate action. I don't think that I didn't go into the situation thinking that former President Trump would be found guilty, nor if he was found guilty, would he be, he's not receiving any jail time, right? But, from the little bit that I paid attention in social studies and stuff like that, the president only needs to be a certain age. He has a certain age requirement, citizen requirement, and that's pretty much it, right?
So, psyche value.
Exactly.
How that happen?
So again, and obviously depends on who's validating the test results, but I'll just say that as it relates to this platform, guilty or not guilty, you made some valid points. I think my concern is more about the leader of the U.S. going forward. Are they going to be someone that supports climate action or not? I could argue, based on the former President Trump's platform in the past, he's not going to be a big advocate for it, but time will tell. If he doesn't run, my question would be, though, if he's unable to run or he pulls out of the race, who's the current president's competition? Who's the next one to step up? If it's the governor from Florida, I mean, might as well just run in front of a bus. Anyway, so thank you for that. Thank you for your feedback there. Ray's comments are obviously her comments. They're her own. They are not.
They're all mine.
They're not necessarily representative of me or this podcast, but nonetheless. So let's get into it. So we ask our guests, what is your definition of climate action or climate change? I define climate change as what's happening around you. Climate action is what you're doing to prevent that. Mm-hmm. But when you think about climate change, what comes to mind and what's your opinion?
Climate, you said action.
Well, climate change first, then we can talk about that.
Okay. Climate change is, like you said, the things that are going on currently that are impacting a number of different things as a result of whatever we're doing that's causing havoc on the environment. Right. What was the second part? I forgot.
No, just what's your opinion? So it sounds like you believe that it's real. Because a lot of times I get people to say that.
I believe it's
Okay.
real. I mean, like I said, I'm from Pittsburgh. We don't get certain things. Like we don't get hurricanes. We don't get earthquakes. We didn't get tornadoes until about 3 weeks ago. We had about 5 of them in 3 weeks. So how can you explain that?
Do you still get the same amounts of snow in
No.
Pittsburgh that you?
No, we barely had snow this year. Barely.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, and we used to get a lot of snow when I was younger, but we get a lot of drastic temperature changes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one day it's 80 degrees, and next day it's 60 degrees. There's no other way to explain it than what we're doing to the environment that's causing it. So I believe it is real, yes.
Okay. All right. So there you had it. And somebody that was on that IEP campus, and I used to always be like, I got to get out of here. This snow is ridiculous. It was snowing like mid-April. It'll still be snowing. Like, what do you do? Like, what are you talking about? So the fact that you guys aren't experiencing that much snow anymore, that's definitely concerning.
Mm-hmm.
So I always ask, so part of this podcast is to educate, but it's also to drive people to consider one thing to do to commit to climate action. One thing. So if there was one thing that you could agree to do, or one thing you could think about doing, what would you want to commit to or pledge to do to try to change the climate change, or to respond to climate change?
I think that's a hard one because I need my air conditioner.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I'm not a big fan of recycling as an impact, but things like not eating red meat is fine. Like a lot of vegans will say you go vegan. That helps from an agricultural perspective. But
So one thing I did get into a little bit, which I hope to get better with over time, was I started a little garden.
okay, yeah, that works.
Last summer I had green peppers, jalapeno peppers, cabbage.
Now, how did you do hydroponics, or did you do?
No, I
just
had
right-
a friend of mine's dad was making the raised garden bed.
Okay.
So we put it out, and I lined it and everything, and then I put the dirt in, the special dirt, and then I bought them already sprouting. So,
Okay.
and I had tomatoes.
Yeah, tomatoes are pretty hard.
Yeah, tomato. It was kind of a small garden. It maybe was 4 feet by 3 feet, so it's not really big, but it was enough to start with.
Sure.
But it was something that I really wanted to work because I wanted to be able, say, hey, I can go outside and get a tomato or
Right.
something like that. But unfortunately, a lot of the deer would come and eat my stuff. I would get a nice tomato growing, and the deer would come and eat it.
Okay.
But so this year, I'm gonna try to do some other things and try to keep the deer out. But growing up, my dad had a garden. That's how he always did green peppers and tomatoes. So we ate a lot of salads and stuff, and my mom could get
So one of the things they say that helps keep the, I won't call them pests or rodents and stuff like that, but like if you plant like lavender and mint and stuff around your stuff, it's supposed to, they don't like the smell or something like that. That might keep them away. But I like the fact that you mentioned gardening because part of climate action is also sustainability, right? So when people hear about gardens, like, oh, okay, it's not like you're planting. If you're planting trees to help the oxygen levels, that's great. If you're just planting to be able to maintain your own food supply, that's sustainability, right? So if you're in a situation where you are growing everything that you need, you're not relying on another system,
Correct.
and then that way you're not necessarily contributing from a consumer perspective to the problem. So, all right, so there you have it, folks. We got Rae to agree to at least one thing. She's going to garden more.
And we plant trees.
You plant trees,
Our
okay?
sorority, we
Okay.
plant trees every year. It's tree planting day on Earth Day.
Okay.
We plant trees, and I try to support local farmer markets as well. We have a lot of the little pop-up stands in Pittsburgh that
Okay.
every certain day a week you can go anywhere in the city and farmers come and bring all their produce, and it could be homemade like fudge and stuff too, but for the most part, and it's seasonal, depending on, we can get broccoli, we can get cauliflower, we can get sweet potatoes. Some parts of the year you can get greens. I think I had greens in there too last year, but they didn't do well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, I think even here they do. Well, when we first got down here, that one of the farms that's about, I don't know, 45 minutes from here or something like that. I think that family was from Pittsburgh, and they brought that farm, black family from Pittsburgh, brought that knowledge here into Jonesboro or something like that. And they were trying to set up like farm to table.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you all have this farm to table?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now they obviously logistically they have some struggles, and you might have to go meet them at a certain point to pick the basket up and stuff like that. But it's definitely worthwhile. And if you're driving an EV, obviously it's not you're not engaging your carbon footprint for that. All right, folks. So now we're at the section of the podcast which I call spill bars or fill jars. Now, as you know, we ask our guests to think about a song, melody, tune, something that reminds them of LeGrand or their connection. So I know we struggled a little bit trying to narrow it down. And I think we got to the point where we said, we know what era it is in. We know it's in the 90s somewhere. So, but I think we're going to punt and we're going to say, so one of the things that you may not know about my guest is she's like the reincarnation of Sheila E. on the drums. And so I think for this section, instead of asking her to freestyle or do something or flip the song that she was going to give, we're going to cut to, we're going to get her some drums, not set up at my house, but we're going to go to either Guitar Center or something like that, and just get her to rock out, and maybe I'll give you some bars as well. But as always, visit keepthatsamegreenenergy.org. Give us your comments, your feedback. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. But tune in. So get people to visit, log in, register. But until then, keep that same green energy. Salud.
Yeah, keep that same green energy podcast. That's how we do. We spill bars here. Yeah, keep it going. Yo, I'm like an NFT, I'm a one of one. Still bringing the heat like the summer sun, or the heat that sits on your waist like a cummerbund. I don't move for any less than 100, so I'm never alone. With me, lightning and thunder come around the world. People say I'm the number one. Salute and give the drummer some, and I might say I'm the best, but won't jump the gun.